Ayoko po magising po tayo na wala na po yung Palawan sa atin. Di ba? Pinapakita natin, galit na ang ating mga kababayan sa pag-aabuso nila dito sa lugar natin, na ating lugar ito. Itong Reed Bank, Pag-asa Island, yung Ayungin Shoals na napakalapit. Mas malayo nga Pag-asa Island sa Ayungin Shoals eh. Nasa gitna yun eh. Palawan, Ayungin Shoals, Pag-asa Island. So, mas malapit pa sa Pilipinas yun. Na gusto nila paalisin yung mga Marines natin doon. Itong issue natin sa West Philippine Sea. Obviously, we should not stop at the arbitral ruling. Di ba? Na-award na sa atin yan. Yung lugar na yan, exclusive economic zone ng Pilipinas. Ang problema, since ilang taon na? 2014 ba yan? 7 years. 7 years nang dinaan ng arbitral ruling na yan. At every day, there are violations of our exclusive economic zone by incursions, repeated incursions and bullying of the Chinese Navy and Coast Guard and even their Chinese militia ships, fishing vessels into our economic zone. Ang sabi ko nga, let's gather enough documentary, photographic, video evidence at isumbong natin uli sa United Nations na hindi nila itinutupad ang desisyon ng United Nations sa arbitral ruling. Of course, hindi papansinin ng China yan, and that is expected. But at the very least, dapat malaman ng UN General Assembly anong nangyayari dito sa ating lugar. Kung ipinakita po natin sa kanila ang mga base militar na itinayo ng ating kapitbahay na ang China dito sa mga lugar na ito, sa tingin ko, magagalit din po sila. They will be appalled at what they see with these military bases that have missiles, rockets, military equipment, soldiers, submarines, navy boats that are just in the doorstep of the Southeast Asian countries. And I said nga, sabi ko nga, nung nasa Reed Bank po sila, ang sabi po nila ay wala naman po kaming binabiolate dahil sa amin naman yung lugar na yon. It is totally illogical to conclude na lugar po nila yon, yung area na yon. Tingnan ko po, papakita ko po sa inyo yung South China Sea, West Philippine Sea. Nandito po yung Reed Bank. Yung Reed Bank ay 80 nautical miles from mainland Philippines, Palawan. 80 nautical miles galing sa northern Palawan kung saan yung El Nido, Calawit, Coron. Ganun kalapit nun. Tingnan nyo naman kung gaano kalayo yung China. Yung China is 600 nautical miles from this area. So, it just boggles the mind on their logic that sa kanila po itong lahat, which is their 9-dash line. Obviously, that is right beside the Philippines, which is part of the exclusive economic zone, and the traditional and historical fishing grounds of Filipino fishermen. Pag may barkong China dyan, makikita mo yan from northern Palawan. Ganun kalapit na yun. Papayag ba sila na ganun din ang gagawin ng ibang bansa sa kanilang teritoryo? Hindi. That's why I call it a creeping invasion. Dinadahan-dahan po nila palapit na palapit po sa Pilipinas at sa ibang bansa katulad ng Vietnam. So, I find it totally illogical for them to conclude that it is their territory. Just look at the map and you will see who is telling the truth. Napakasimple lamang po. And if we do not do a pushback, if we do not stand on this particular issue as a nation, baka pagising po natin bukas, nandun na sila sa El Nido, Palawan. At baka i-claim na rin po nila yan. If kung hindi po tayo tatayo at manindigan dito sa posisyon na ito.
Just a follow-up in relation to that, sir. Nakipag-meet si former President Duterte kay Chinese presidency. Ano, sir, bukod sa former president siya, tingin niyo ba, sir, may appropriate pa yun? Ano yung personality niya? And ano yung weight?
I just saw that issue. I just saw that news on my way here galing sa Malacanang. I don't want to comment kasi hindi ko po alam anong circumstances ng kanyang meeting. Baka that's a private visit lang. So, I don't want to make a comment on that particular issue. Basta importante, this coming week of the SONA, we will pass a strongly worded resolution of our disgust, of our frustration, of our anger as shown by all the Pulse Asia and other surveys of the Filipino people on the repeated incursion of our exclusive economic zone very, very close to the Philippine territory. And I'm talking about, it is a hairline distance to the Philippines. So I think that is the most important, is the stand of the Senate on this particular issue. I know meron po mga senador na makikita naman po natin na hindi pabor dito sa posisyon na ito, but I would say 95% of the senators are in unison pagdating po sa condemnation itong pagpasok at tinatawag ko nga creeping invasion of our nation.
Particularly referring to that, if you want to comment on that, yung personality, sir, ni former president, given yung closeness niya, or at least during his time, sir, with China, sir, may influence pa ba kaya siya tingin nyo sa government or dun sa decision making with...
Again, I don't want to comment kasi I don't know what he may have raised this issue in the West Philippine Sea in defense of the Philippines, but I don't know what transpired, so mahirap mag-comment dun, so I wouldn't know. Ang akin lang is hopefully the Senate will come up with a solid stand on this issue. Napakalaga malaman po ng United Nations itong sa 7 taon na ito, lalong lumapit pa sila sa ating bansa at kailangan po natin ng tulong ng international community na i-condemn po itong mga actions na ito. Yes, my dear.
Sir, follow up again. Sabi nyo, you will come up with a strongly worded statement next week on the week of the SONA?
Resolution.
Yes. Can we call it parang resolution stating condemnation of the Senate as strong as that? Sir?
No,
condemnation?
we are going to, it will be part of the whereas clauses. It will be basically a resolution in support of the move or requesting Philippine government to take this back to the United Nations, take this issue back to the United Nations, for them to see the continued incursions and the repeated bullying tactics of their gray ships and white ships. This is the Navy and Coast Guard within our exclusive economic zone.
Basically, you want us to report it to UN. This is different from UNGA, or it's the same thing, sir?
The UN is the UN General Assembly. UNGA
that's
is
it, sir.
Yeah,
The one
reporting
that
into the United Nations. In other words, they came up with a arbitral ruling. And within the 7 years, that arbitral ruling has not been followed or respected. And we will show, within the 7 years, what has transpired since then. And the repeated incursions and reclamations in these particular areas, including reclamation on what is considered international waters. These are international waters where freedom of navigation should be under the UNCLOS respected. Kahit anong barko, taga France, taga Spanya, taga Japan, taga China, taga Taiwan, pag dumaan sila dun, there should be guaranteed freedom of navigation. Hindi yung pagdaan nila, may bansa na talagang china-challenge at hinaharang pa itong mga sea lanes na ito. These are international waters. This is in the middle of the West Philippine Sea, South China Sea area. So, unfortunately, kiniklaim nila lahat. We have to seek permission when we go through these areas. That is not right. Under the UNCLOS and under a civilized society, these areas are supposed to be free to navigate by any country.
Sir, just to be clear, the one that you will be passing on the week of the SONA is a different reso suggested by Senator Risa?
I have to read kasi a reso. That's why I support her in principle, but I have not seen the reso of Senator Risa. It's not reached me yet.
Next weekend, sir.
Pwede naman i-amend yun eh. So, Risa naman will be open to amendment. So, we can amend the title, we can amend the whereas clauses. So, more or less, I'll have my staff anyway prepare also the essence of what we're trying to achieve here in that resolution. We don't have to file a new resolution. We can actually adopt hers with amendments.
Pero parang it's a consolidated expression.
Yes. And we will continue to do so. While they're continuing this incursion, I know the DFA must be diplomatic, but the Senate does not have to be diplomatic. The Senate is an expression of each and every one of your sentiments. And again, no, let me repeat, ito yung Pulse Asia survey, 75% in favor, only 14% are not in favor of strengthening U.S. ties, ties between the United States and the Philippines militarily on the issue of West Philippine Sea. Nandyan talaga, security, military ties. Yan ang tanong, militarily. So, other surveys that I've seen, 80+% ang approval rating sa Estados Unidos dahil sa tulong nila sa atin. Negative po ang rating ng China. So, pinapakita lang po natin, I'm not trying to pick a fight, I'm just stating the facts. Pinapakita natin, galit na ang ating mga kababayan sa pag-aabuso nila dito sa lugar natin, na ating lugar ito. Itong Reed Bank, Pag-asa Island, yung Ayungin Shoals na napakalapit. Mas malayo nga Pag-asa Island sa Ayungin Shoals eh. Nasa gitna yun eh. Palawan, Ayungin Shoals, Pag-asa Island. So, mas malapit pa sa Pilipinas yun. Ngayon gusto nila paalisin yung mga Marines natin doon. Ano sila? Wishful thinking po yan. Matibay po mga Marines natin dyan. And we stand with them and we salute them.
Sir, dagdagan lang ulit, sir. Based dun sa binigay niyo, pinakita yung documents, tsaka yung mga diniscuss niyo, sir, parang malabo na ba, sir, panghawakan ng administrasyon na kahit an inch of our territory, hindi mawawala under this administration?
Yes, yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
That's why we're fighting back. We're pushing back. And the President agrees with us. I mean, of course, we have to wait for his official statement.
At to that lang, sir, satisfied pa, sir, kayo dun sa so far mga statements ni President Marcos na kinakailangan pa ng Senate na mag-come up with its own stand? I mean, bringing the issue
independent body naman ng Senado. The Senate has always been the last one of the, what they say, the last bastion of democracy. We are not, the Senate has time and time again pushed for policy on issues of foreign relations, of industries. So we are a policies, I would say, we also help dictate policy for government. So I think it is important that we maintain this type of independence from the executive. So if the executive wants to remain diplomatic about it, we don't have to be held by that diplomacy, but we can express our sentiments as what we should do in this particular issue. It is a nationalist issue. It is an issue of our territory. Ayoko po magising po tayo na wala na po yung Palawan sa atin. Di ba? That will be a failure on our part as a society and as a people and this generation to allow that to happen. So, if we don't push back now, like what Vietnam is doing, ginagawa ng Vietnam po nito na yun. Pino-push back po nila yung China. As a matter of fact, binan nila yung Barbie movie dahil sa 9-dash line. Di ba? Ganun katindi ang kanilang galit at nationalism at walang nag-complain. Nung sinabi po nila ibaban, yung mga kababayan nila hindi po nag-complain.
Sir, kung si Presidente mismo yung categorical na magsasabi, di ba mas may weight, mas may bearing para sa, baka ng China? Kasi parang may observation na
he's familiar with the issue. As a matter of fact, ilang beses niya na tinawag yung Chinese ambassador to Malacanang to explain what is going on. So, I don't want to short guess. Let's wait for the President's State of the Nation address. He might say something about the West Philippine issue, West Philippine Sea issue. Baka may sasabihin siya doon na magandang pakinggan at magulat po tayo lahat. So I don't know. But we'll wait.
So far, sir, hindi naman po kayo nakukulangan dun sa mga statements so far ng alas?
No, because I'm actually very happy with what the administration is doing. dinadagdagan po nila yung white ships at gray ships natin doon. Kasi kung policy po ng gobyerno na huwag tayo lumaban, walang ipapadala na barko doon ng Navy at Coast Guard. Pero dinadagdagan po nila ang barko ng Navy at Coast Guard doon. That means they're in unison with what the administration is thinking, which is basically to protect our assets, to protect our sea lanes, to protect our fishermen from the harassment of our Chinese neighbors. So, definitely, kung opposite yung direction ng Pangulo dyan, walang mga barko nagpapatrol na galing sa Pilipinas dito sa mga lugar na ito. Pero dinagdagan pa nila Dinagdagan pa nila. And as a matter of fact, nadagdagan din po ang military training exercises with the Philippines and the United States.
Sir, you mentioned Ayungin Shoal kasi di ba sobrang iniintay na lang natin na magiba yung barko doon. Yung Senate ba, from your end, do you intend to give an additional budget to the military
Absolutely.
for the construction of, say, our own artificial islands?
Absolutely, Sharian. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, magdadagdag po ako ng pondo for Pag-asa Island. On my personal capacity, gagawa po kami ng tinatawag natin institutional amendments na pagandahin natin yung mga government facilities doon, yung mga healthcare. Gagawa po tayo ng maternity care ward doon sa maternity clinic sa Pag-asa Island. Imagine, may 1,000 pala nakatira doon na kababayan natin at hindi po sila makakapunta ng mainland Palawan. Nanganganak na po sila doon. Wala po silang facilities. So, I committed to the authorities together with the local government na magdadagdag po kami ng pondo para sa healthcare facilities nila doon. And of course, sa classroom buildings, kasi giba na daw yung mga classrooms nila doon para makita nila na minamahal po sila ng ating mga kababayan sa mainland at minamahal po ng gobyerno ang mga kababayan natin sa Pag-asa Island. We're also committed to give a desalination facility for the island. So, we're going to add funding for that. Sa Ayungin Shoals, we're discussing it with our friends in the military on paano natin sila matutulungan na additional protection for our Marines that are based in Ayungin Shoals. I cannot mention specifics because it is best not mentioned and malaman pa ng mga kalaban natin.
Opo. But definitely, there will be more funding assistance to these areas.
Yes, definitely. This year, yes. And we've also, the Senate also, through Senator Sani Angara, made a commitment to add to the NEP budget or the NEP or GAA budget of the AFP. So, in terms of additional modernized equipment, lalo na sa Air Force natin and Navy and Marines. Yes. Yep, I'm being told to wrap up. Balik ako ng Malacanang. Meron pong awarding ceremony that I'll be attending there 2 p.m.
SP,
So last yeah.
may mga maritime law expert SP like J. Batong Bakal is calling for pushing for the Maritime Zones Act. What are the chances, SP, na
I'm in
mapapass
favor
siya
of
sa
that.
Senate?
I'm in favor of that. As a matter of fact, gusto ko po mangyari yun. Para katulad ng ating kapitbahay na China, they passed a Maritime Act which under their local law, under their national law, patas nila, yung 9-dash line daw, lahat yung kanila. So, lahat ng dadaan dun, kailangan humingi ng permiso sa Chinese government. But dahil ginawa nilang batas yun, I think the Philippines should follow suit. The Philippines should pass a maritime law defining our exclusive economic zone that was awarded to us by the arbitral ruling of the United Nations. I think that's a good move.
Sa SP,
And
kailan
that has my support.
Kasi sa House SP, napasa na siya in May. In the Senate SP, possible ba itong ma-prioritize given the situation?
Kasama na yan sa priority measures of the Senate. Kasama natin. So, we'll pass it. At least I'll try to pass it. Who's this? Who's the sponsor? Foreign Relations Center. Kain na tayo.
Sir pahabol. Sir, today ina-expect na maglabas ng decision yung International Criminal Court doon sa plea ng ating government against doon sa continuous investigation kina President former President Duterte and Bato, just in case ba na ang maging decision, ituloy yung investigation, as Senate President, may pwede ba kayong gawin to defend?
I don't want to preempt the decision of the UN. Maybe I'll comment after the decision is made. Pero habang hindi ko pa nababasa ang decision, yeah,
ICC.
What did they say? Ano siya?
UN.
Yeah, sorry. ICC pala. Gutom na ako. I am doing intermittent fasting, so I haven't eaten since 8 o'clock last night. So, sorry. Yung, hintayin ko na lang. Again. Hintayin ko muna yung decision ng ICC on this particular issue.
Pero sir, si Bato, as member ng Senate, meron ba kayong pwedeng gawin?
Oh, he will always be accorded the protection and the protection of the Senate, unless he's otherwise proven guilty, di ba? And so, katulad ng ginawa po natin noong panahon ni Trillanes, di ba, na Trillanes, there was a case filed against him, or new case filed against him, and we also stood as I was majority leader at that time, that said that unless there was an actual warrant for his arrest in a local court, we cannot physically give him up, because especially during the session days, he's protected by the Senate, unless there is a warrant of arrest in a local court. Same with Senator Bato. If there's no local warrant for his arrest, then he should be accorded the respect of a senator of the republic and be protected as such. So
kung may ICC warrant of arrest, he can take refuge here so that he will...
no, the problem is we have a local justice system.
Pero sir,
We have a Department of Justice. We have a Secretary of Justice. We have our own penal codes. We have our own laws. The usual route niyan is the ICC will apply with the local country kasi dapat yung magte-take custody dito sa case na to is the local courts, di ba? Ganun yan. When they find, pag naghabol po sila ng mga other personalities in other countries, the ICC has to always work with the local courts, with the local authorities. So I don't want to jump the gun. That question is for SOJ Remulla.
although sir, sinabi...
Yun, kain na tayo. Di naman ako.
sir, di ba may mga pending ditong resolution nun na kumu-question sa jurisdiction ng ICC? Do you think it's about time na... Kasi alam ko nun may pending na investigation ang Committee on Justice.
I think that is a matter of the executive to discuss, and that is an executive decision to be made, particularly on the jurisdiction of courts. DOJ na yun, DOJ.
SB, isa na lang po.
Alis na ako hindi pa ako makain. Sige.
SB, yung basic education, hindi na daw po nakagraduate dun sa siksikan classroom, yung mga teachers, yung mga sweldo. Ano po yung magagawa ng Kongreso dito?
Meron tayong pinasa na EDCOM 2, di ba, yung Educational Commission 2. At ang ganda po ng mga recommendations ni Chairman Gatchalian, Senator Win, and Congressman Roman. Nag-usap nga kami ni Congressman Roman kanina at linapitan niya ako na sana yung mga recommendations ng EDCOM 2 ay itutulak po ng ating executive and legislative bodies in terms of budget allocation. Dahil kulang ang classrooms, kulang ang teachers, mababang sahod, walang kulang na allowance ang ating mga teachers, and kulang na equipment. We are so backwards pagdating ng ating educational sector. The Vice President is doing her best she just assumed office for 1 year, but she's doing a yeoman's job, a very difficult job in trying to repair the damage that has been done, particularly in the pandemic, kung saan tayo hindi po tayo nag-face-to-face instruction. So, we have to fix that problem. I think kailangan natin tutukan talaga edukasyon ng ating mga kabataan. And I'm fully supportive. As a Senate, we will be fully supportive of the recommendations of EDCOM 2, particularly on the budgeting request for modernizing our equipment, increasing our classrooms, teachers' education and training. Kasi yung style po ng training nila ay medyo minsan ay outdated na po. So, like for example, yung mga anak ko sa private school, they're doing Singapore math. I think we're still doing the traditional math, which is basically memorizing the equations and memorizing the multiplication and subtraction. Ibang bansa, iba na yung sistema ng edukasyon nila. So we have to really look at the recommendations of EDCOM too.
Sir, isa na lang, pahabulan to. Promise. Hindi pa lang to.
Absent siya eh.
Oo nga,
Disqualified. Joke lang, hindi pa ako.
Sir, tigil na yung online attendance sa hearing wala na mga health protocol and antigen. Titigil na daw po ba
Wala
no?
naman siguro antigen, I think.
I mean, sir, ang ibig niyo sabihin, papayagan pa ba yung mga online attendance or ititigil na?
That will be a prerogative of the chairperson. Pumayag po tayo ng online Zoom meetings for committee level, but it is, I mentioned to the chairperson, it is your prerogative. For example, Blue Ribbon, ayaw na ni Senator Tolentino ng online. Kasi ang hirap naman, totoo naman ang hirap naman kumuha ng, makahingi ng yung totoong, or mailabas ang katotohanan kung siya po ay nasa Zoom at may nagko-quote sa witness or whoever resource person na tinatanong nyo. So, it depends. I think if you're talking about, let's say, for example, bukas may hearing on my bamboo bill, if it's bamboo research and development, pwede naman siguro taga UP Los Baños, sa UP Los Baños na lang sa mag-Zoom at magsalita. Pero depending on the committee, if it's a committee that needs the presence of the particular resource person, then the chairperson can just declare na it will be face-to-face.
Sir, coordinate, sir, yung ICC sa local court.
Session will all be face-to-face. Yes.
Sir, kung makipag-coordinate yung ICC sa local court and there will be an arrest warrant against one of the senators, for example, Senator Bato, you will give him up. Pwede siyang arrest.
Putting words in my mouth. I'm hungry na. I'll see you guys later. Thanks, everybody.